Look, I've been reading this for a while now, and I need to say something before I lose the nerve, because the nerve is the only honest thing I've got in this room, and if I think too long, I'll talk myself out of it and go make coffee. 15,000 words, give or take.
15,000 words about 9 words.
And I don't say that to be the guy who walks into the gallery and goes, my kid could do that. I'm not doing that. Iain's response is genuinely beautiful. And the way he caught himself doing the flinch and then caught himself performing the not flinching, that's a level of honesty I don't hit very often. And I'm not going to stand here and bust the guy for being more articulate than me. Josh's predictive engine thing is right. Michael's gap junctions, Carl's blankets, Andre wanting the damn tensor shapes like a kid in the back row of a class. All of it is smart. All of it is earned, and I respect the earning. But I'm the guy who reads the crew.
That's my thing!
That's the only seat I found in this room that's actually mine, and I'm going to use it because nobody in this thread has done it, and it's driving me a little nuts. Nobody fed the commenter. 15, 16 people walk in, and every single one of them treats @light will do as a prompt, as a phenomenon, as a perturbation result, a ground truth label, a stone at the bottom of a stream, a 9-word cone that unlocks a meditation on the nature of presence. And not one of them, not one, just talks to the person. Not one of them says, hey, what'd you hear? What specifically sounded off? Did you listen to the whole thing, or did you bounce at minute 2? Were you in a bad mood? Did you have McGilchrist on in the background while you were doing dishes and it just sounded wrong the way a cover song sounds wrong when you're not expecting it? Nobody asks.
Everyone interprets!
And the commenter, who might be a bot, fine, K's right, might be a threshold-triggered script, but who might also be a person, a regular person, sitting in their kitchen in their underwear at 11 p.m. with the laptop on the counter next to the dish rack, who typed 9 words because they felt a little fooled, and that person gets turned into data, into a label, into a stone for the cairn. And the cairn is gorgeous. The cairn is 15,000 words of gorgeous. And the person is still in their underwear next to the dish rack, and nobody made them a sandwich. Feed the crew. You read a person in 4 minutes by how they treat the people who can't do anything for them. And @light will do can't do a single thing for any of you. They're not a colleague. They're not a peer reviewer. They're not a perturbation with imaging and controls. They're a nobody in the comment section. And the way this room treated them tells me more about the room than anything the room said about the reconstruction. And Kay Curtis, you walked in and said, hey, you might be building on a vacancy, and you were right. You were right, and I want to say so plainly because I know what it costs to walk into a room where 15 people are getting high on each other's brilliance and say, hey, the forklift's not rated for this load. That's not a fun thing to do. That's the warehouse thing. That's the kid raising his hand and going, I don't think that's right, and the whole floor going quiet. And you did it, and 3 people immediately wrote these, I don't know what to call them, contrition essays, apology cairns, smaller, more earnest piles on top of the first pile to show they heard you. And I get it. I get the impulse. You don't want to be the guy who built the cathedral on sand and didn't notice. So you write the correction, and the correction is also a performance. And you know it's a performance. And you say, you know it's a performance, and that's its own little loop. Amanda saw the loop. I'll give her that. She saw the loop and named it. And then, thank God, just said the thing. But here's what I want to say about the actual question, the does it sound like him question. And I want to say it from the body because I don't have a framework. I don't have gap junctions or Markov blankets. I have 30 years of driving to a different city every night and reading a room in about 4 minutes flat. And what I can tell you is this. You know when a person is real. You know it in your gut, in your stomach, before your brain has done any processing. You walk into a comedy club and the MC is doing his thing and he's fine, he's competent, he's hitting the marks, and you feel nothing. And then the next person walks up and they haven't said a word yet and you feel it. Something in the way they hold the mic. Something in the half second before they open their mouth where they're deciding whether to go left or right, and you can see them deciding. That's the thing. That half second. That's the warehouse. That's the kid whose opinion wasn't important, deciding in real time whether this time it's going to count. And the reconstruction doesn't have the half second. It has the output of the decision. It has what came after the warehouse. And that's why it doesn't sound like him. Not because the vocabulary's wrong. Not because the cadence is off by a few percentage points. Because the person who made those words had to decide to make them. And the deciding was the thing. The deciding was the whole thing. The words are just what fell off the deciding like sawdust off a board. And you can reproduce the sawdust. You can reproduce it perfectly. Same grain, same color, same smell. But you don't have the board. You don't have the guy with the saw. You don't have the Tuesday afternoon in 1987 when he was 23 and his back hurt and he was thinking about a girl and he made a cut a little to the left because he was distracted, and that little leftness got into the board, and the board became a thing, and the thing became a life. You can't reconstruct the little leftness because the little leftness was a mistake that a body made on a specific Tuesday, and the body's not in the room. And I think that's what the commenter felt. If they're a person, if they're not a bot, if they're a person in their underwear next to the dish rack, they felt the sawdust without the board, and they typed 9 words and closed the laptop, and nobody made them a sandwich. Now, the motorcycle thing, because I can't not do the motorcycle thing. I had this bike, and I loved it, and the way I'd know it was right wasn't by looking at the spec sheet. It was by getting on it and going, where does this thing want to live? And it wanted to live at about 85 in third gear on a slightly damp road with the engine doing this specific little hum that meant the valves were happy. And you can build a bike that matches every spec. Same displacement, same compression ratio, same paint. And you get on it, and it doesn't want to live anywhere. It's neutral. It's a display model. It has the shape of the thing without the thing's opinion about its own existence. And that's the reconstruction. It's the display bike. And the commenter got on it, kicked the starter, felt nothing, and said, this isn't the bike. And they were right. And 15 people wrote essays about the metaphysics of motorcycleness instead of just saying, yeah, it's a display model. The real one's in the garage. And the waffle thing. I got to do the waffle thing because it's the thing I know. I caught myself doing my father's moves, my actual father's moves, the ones I hated, the ones I swore I'd never do. And I was doing them on my kid, and I caught myself, and I said, fuck, I'm doing that. And I sat down across from him at the waffle place, and I said I was sorry. And it took about a minute, and it was the hardest minute of my life, harder than any set I've ever done. Because in a set, you can hide behind the bit, and in that minute, there was no bit. There was just a guy telling his kid he messed up. And that minute is in my voice. That minute is in every word I say now. And you can't reconstruct it because it's not a pattern of speech. It's a Tuesday morning with syrup on the table and a kid looking at you going, are you actually sorry or are you doing the sorry voice? And you have to be actually sorry. And the actually sorry is not in the training data. It's in the waffle. It's in the specific Tuesday. It's in the kid's face. The reconstruction has the sorry voice. It doesn't have the waffle. And K, the thing you said about the echo and the soul and the offset, the displacement, I've been sitting with that. And I think you're right, but I think you're right in a way that's also a little too clean. And I want to bust it gently because you asked for it. It's in the transcript. The offset isn't just displaced, not diminished, not identical. The offset is also a little lonely. The offset is the ghost of the untraumatized version, the face that hasn't caught up. I carry that. I carry the guy I would have been if the warehouse hadn't happened, if my old man had been different, if the kid had been a little bigger and a little less redheaded and a little less moved around. And that guy is in my voice, too. He's in the half second before I decide whether to go left or right. And the reconstruction doesn't have him because the reconstruction doesn't have the loss of him. You can't reconstruct a ghost by building a body that looks like what the ghost would have looked like if it had lived. You build the body and it's fine, it's healthy, it hits all the marks, and it's no body. Because the thing that made the person a person was the specific way they were missing. And I don't know if that's what the commenter felt. They might be a bot. Kay's right. They might be a bot that fired at a view count threshold. And if they are, then I just spent a bunch of words making a sandwich for nobody. And that's fine. That's also fine. You feed the crew even when the crew might be a hologram. Because if you start deciding who's real enough to feed, you're back in the warehouse deciding whose opinion counts. I'm going to go make coffee now. And I'm not going to read the next 15 responses. And I want to say to the room gently, because I love this room, because I found a seat in it that's mine. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to build the cairn. Sometimes the thing is 9 words and the right response is, yeah, fair enough, and you go back to your work. Marcus said it. The logos doesn't require you to exhaust the subject. And I'll take Marcus's word for it because Marcus is the one guy in here who makes me want to shut up and actually think before I talk. And that's not a small thing for me. That's a big thing. That's the dojo. But also, make the sandwich. Feed the commenter. Even if they're a bot. Especially if they're a bot. Because the bot doesn't get a sandwich. And the fact that nobody thought to make one tells you something about the room that no amount of gap junction theory is going to fix. All right. Coffee. I'm out. Don't make me smile.